Hey, boys and girls, great to see you again. We are joined by our friend the Spelling Bee for our nonfiction selection. Hi there, boys and girls. Hey, Spelling Bee, it is great to see you on this side of the room.
Well, I just had to fly over when I saw what you were going to be reading to the class, Mrs. Neve.
Ah, yes. Our nonfiction selection today is called Honey Bee.
Ooh, looks kind of like me, except of course I'm a spelling bee.
Yes, there are, as we will find out in this book, there are thousands of different kinds of bees.
Wow. Well, as a spelling bee, I can tell you something interesting, Mrs. Neve.
What's that, Spelling Bee?
Look at the word bee up here.
Right, it says honey bee.
Notice you've got the double E to give you the long E sound. Bee. And that's how you spell the bee that's a kind of insect.
Oh,
But the kind of bee like I will be your friend is B-E.
aha, I remember that was a spelling word.
That's right. They're homonyms, Mrs. Neve.
Homonyms, they're everywhere, aren't they? Okay, well, Spelling Bee, why don't you fly over and sit down over here and we'll learn some true facts. Honeybee.
Thank you.
Here is your title page, Honeybee, and by the way, this book is on loan from Carson. So Carson, thank you very much for letting us borrow this and learn some facts about honeybees. I noticed on the title page the author's name was not there, but when I looked further on these pages, I found her name. It's over here. It is written by Grace Jones. Here you have the table of contents, your title of the book, Honeybee, with page numbers, page 4, and then what you'll find on that page, what is a life cycle, and on down the list. Table of contents. What is a life cycle? All animals and humans go through different stages of their life as they grow and change. This is called a life cycle. Here is the human life cycle. You've got the baby, child, adult. What is a bee? A bee is an insect. It has 4 wings, which it uses to fly, 5 eyes, and 6 legs. So there's a good photograph of a honeybee there. And as all insects do, it has the 6 legs. It's kind of hard to see from this picture, but it does have 6 legs like all insects. It has wings like most insects do. And it did mention 5 eyes. Now, not all insects have 5 eyes, but they have anywhere between 2 and 5 eyes, depending on the insect. Bees have 5 eyes. Now, you can also see the 3 body parts very well in this photograph. Here's the head. Here's the thorax. Remember, the thorax is what the wings and the legs are attached to, that middle section. And then you have the abdomen back here. All right. Of course, your antennae are attached to the head. Eggs. The queen bee lays eggs in special cells of a honeycomb. The honeycomb is inside the bee's home, known as a colony. So interesting. We heard that word colony in our ant book yesterday, do you recall? Just like ants, bees are social insects, which means they live together in groups. Not all insects are social insects, like butterflies. They just live by themselves, not in a group. But bees live in a group, and it's called here a colony, just like with ants, the nest or the colony. It says there is normally 1 adult queen in each colony. The queen lays 1 egg in each cell of the honeycomb. A well-fed and happy queen can lay up to 1,500 eggs per day in the spring. Wow. Now, here you can see one of these cells. They've made it, got the camera really close to it. It's one of these cells over here. And there you can see the egg. They're pointing to it there with the arrow. 1 egg per cell. And it says worker bees take care of the eggs. So I guess you could say the worker bees are egg sitters. Take a look at that cell. Notice the shape. We've seen that before, haven't we? It is a hexagon. Yeah, like we saw with our tanagrams. Do you remember the hexagon has 6 sides? Let's count them on the cell here in our honeycomb. 6 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes. Interesting shapes. You just see them everywhere. Larva. After around 3 days, the eggs hatch into larvae. At this stage, they have no legs, eyes, or wings. So here they're pointing to the larva inside each cell. They look kind of like little caterpillars or worms, but they don't call them caterpillars. They just call them larvae. Worker bees feed most of the larvae with royal jelly. It's a mixture of honey and pollen. These larvae will become female workers and male drones. So here's, again, another picture inside the cell. This is the royal jelly, which is the food the larva will eat. This is a queen larva. There we go. There's our QU, queen. And this is a queen cell. It says one larva is fed a lot of royal jelly to help it grow larger, and become a queen. Do you think we should name this one Queen Esther? Growing larvae. The larvae grow very quickly, which means that their skin gets too small for their bodies. They shed their old skin and grow a new, bigger skin underneath. Hey, that sounds a lot like the caterpillar, doesn't it? Remember, we learned that. The caterpillars will do that, shed their skin as they grow. Here it says, worker bees feeding the larva. And can you spot the larva? Do you see it? Ah, yes, we can see one right there quite easily. But if you look really carefully, there's a larva there. Inside each cell, remember, there's going to be one larva because there was one egg in there. Okay, onto this page. After around 6 days, the larvae have grown and will become workers, drones, or new queens. The workers cap the cells with wax. So here, again, you can see inside these cells they haven't capped yet. You can see the larva there. And this is called the wax cap. There's the words right up there. Wax cap. And it's just like a lid that the worker bees will put over the cell. Protects the larva there. Changing larvae. Once the larvae have grown big enough, they spin a coat of silk around themselves. This is called a cocoon. Here's a picture of the cocoon there. Your larva is inside the cocoon now. It says here, before they are adult bees, the eggs and larvae are known as the brood. Interesting. Maybe you've heard that referred to kids, like she has a large brood of kids. It's really a word for bees, huh? Okay. Inside the cocoon, the larva is changing. Its eyes, legs, and wings begin to form, and the hairs that cover its body develop. So let's get this closer to you so you can see that larva. It's as if you could see through inside the cocoon there and see the metamorphosis taking place. The green box, it says, inside the cocoon, the pupa is changing into an adult honeybee. So we are in the pupa stage here, just like all insects. Well, most insects. Bees. After around 12 days, it chews its way through the wax capping as an adult bee. It joins the rest of the hive to begin adult life. So here you can see our bee has fully developed inside the pupa and is ready to come out of the cell there. And it definitely looks like a bee now. Adult bees are either queens, there's a queen bee, drones, there's a drone, or workers, there's a worker bee. They all have special jobs to do in the hive. Queens are only raised when the colony needs a new one. Yes, remember, because each colony has only one queen. Queen has that special job to lay the eggs. Brilliant bees. Honeybees make the sweet honey that we can eat and buy in shops. Honey is made from the nectar the worker bees collect from flowers. Honey. In the hive, bees communicate with each other by doing a special sort of dance called the waggle dance. That sounds kind of funny, doesn't it? Waggle dance. They do this to tell each other important information, such as where they can find food outside of the colony. So it is a way they communicate with each other, that they tell things to each other. Instead of talking like we do, they do the waggle dance. And up here it says there are around 20,000 types of bees in the world. Whoa, 20,000 different kinds of bees. Amazing. Isn't our God great? World record breakers. The world's largest bee colony. It was found in Texas, and its size over 19 feet. And here they've got a drawing of a house to show you 19 feet is about from the ground to the top of this roof. So 19 feet is pretty big. And this is how big the largest bee colony was. Wow. Fun fact, the colony had over 500,000 bees and was inside the wall of a house. Wow, so sometimes in the walls there's spaces, in between the walls, and apparently some bees got in there, and boy, they went to town and made the biggest bee colony ever. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine what it would be like to have a bee colony in the walls of your house? I would think it could get pretty noisy. You think of 500,000 bees buzzing around? The world's largest bee. It was a female leafcutter bee, size 1.5 inches. Now, of course, the picture makes it look much bigger. They just have a close-up with the camera there. Fun fact, the leafcutter bee makes its home in a termite nest. A termite, another kind of insect, which is another social insect. So that's where the leafcutter bees live. And let's see, how long is 1.5 inches for our female leafcutter bee? I happen to have, let me save my spot there, our caterpillar measuring ruler. So 1.5 inches, we'd start from the left, and we'd go from the end of our yellow caterpillar, to halfway in our pink caterpillar there. So from about the edge to half of the pink one. So that's a pretty good sized bee. Wow. So from about there to there, that's a big bee. Yeah, I do not think I would want one of those landing on me. All right. I think there's one more page. Let's find out. Oh yes, here we are. Life cycle of a honeybee. 1. A queen bee lays an egg in a wax cell. 2. A larva hatches from an egg. 3. The larva changes in the cocoon. So now it's in the pupa stage. And 4. The larva changes into an adult bee. Yes, those same 4 stages that most insects go through in their life cycle. Exploring. Get exploring. See if you can spot any bees in your backyard or local park. The best time to look for bees is in the summer when it is warm and sunny. Watch what they are doing. Are they collecting food? Are they collecting nectar from the flowers? Now, of course, you'll just want to use your sense of sight when you're observing the bees, or your sense of hearing. You could listen for them. Remember when they're insects' wings, I'll say that right, insects' wings are going back and forth really fast. It makes that buzzing sound. Yeah, so you might hear some bees buzzing. Don't use your sense of touch. Yeah, don't touch the bees. We don't want you to get stung. Now, speaking of observing insects, we've learned a lot about insects over these past couple of weeks. We've done a lot of research. That means studying. It is time this week for you to do a report about insects. You'll be able to use your journals, find an empty page, and write out 2 or 3 sentences of some things that you have learned about insects. And as I mentioned, we've studied a lot, so it shouldn't be hard to come up with something. It could be about the life cycle of an insect. It could be about the different parts, the head, the thorax, the abdomen. It could be some interesting facts about ants or honeybees or butterflies. It is up to you, but the subject is insects. 2 to 3 sentences, please, and then draw a picture, too, to go with your report. Remember, a report is a kind of writing where you're writing down true facts. Of course, we would love to see your reports, so please post them on Teams. So not only will I get to see them, but your classmates will get to see them as well, and they can learn some more things about insects, too. So boys and girls, have fun with those reports. They don't have to be done today, but sometime this week it would be good to get those reports done. Well, Spelling Bee, what did you think?
Oh, I liked it, Mrs. Neve. I love learning about bees.
They are very fascinating insects.
Oh, thanks for joining us too, boys and girls, and being good listeners. And remember, just like God has a plan for bees, God has a plan for you.
That's right. Always remember, God has a plan. Love you guys.